So I just woke up, and so here's what's new. There's not too many new things. There's these 4 asparagus that sprouted last week, and then there's 3 new ones. 1 new onion that I didn't see, and everything else here, these tiny ones I transplanted because they were drying up, so I'm going to plant these bigger blocks here. So I'll be doing more planting today. And yeah, I transplanted 2 of the apples. 1 apple is here, the other apple is here, so I'm gonna let them grow up, and then once they're bigger, graft them here and then transplant them. See, with the soil block makers, so I realized what the problem is with a lot of these things. As you can see with these peas, they were overwatered. So I emptied it out from here. I checked out some of the other things. They don't seem to be completely dead yet, though I'm worried that might be the case with some of these fruit trees I planted. I read that seedlings need less water. They need more air pockets for the oxygen, whereas leafy greens like this, they need lots of water because all the water goes into the leaves, of course. I'm doing something a bit different this week. I prepared some vegetables. I chopped them up ahead of time in these containers, and once they empty out, I'm going to start preparing food 1 meal ahead, because I realized the past few weeks, especially if it's colder, I'm too lazy to cook, and it would be a lot easier if I could just throw it onto the pan and cook right away. So I'm back to work and digging the driveway. I'm gonna try to get an hour and a half in every day while I'm here, and little by little make the ring. Here, as I'm digging out the driveway, I'm making sure to separate the top soil from the ground underneath, which I can use in the gardens elsewhere. That's how long it takes to do 1 stretch, which I can throw to there. Just finished the second one. All of the tops fit into this wheelbarrow. That took about an hour. So I foresee this, if I keep chugging away at this day by day, this I'm going to apply onto here to help stabilize this so that I can turn this into another bed that's right next to the water source. There, cover this side up. The next wheelbarrow is going to go onto this side, and I think I can add some good soil on top and plant right in it. I just planted this tray. I've got 2 hascaps here, 2 Diosporus lotus in the first row, and then the second row is all Actinidia, which is kiwi. Third row is all Morus nigra, mulberry. Fourth row is all Prunus serotina. The 5th row is all Prunus spinosa, and the last row is all watermelon. I'm testing out a new layout with this. I'm going to try to water from the top and have this at a slant so that the water runs through the bottom, and so it doesn't collect and to rot the ground. I think I've figured out the solution to securing this. I had these centers which I drilled out for the pipe piece, and I made holes that fit snugly with this, so I'll try to snatch these on and use this as a handle. No, they get on pretty tight on this one, but yeah, it's getting looser and looser. I need to try something else. I'm doing my capture period, part of getting things done fast system, to just write down all the tasks that need to be done. And one of them is reusing these glass jars to plant herbs in them. I drilled these holes in them last year, and one of the tasks is to put them to use to plant basil. Here I've got these glasses from last year, emptied and filled with whatever I'm using for the other seedlings. So it's time to plant some herbs. I've got table space. It's dark, hopefully it can capture. I'm replanting salvia, bergamot, and anise. So, today, Rodrigo and I are going to graft fruit trees because it's sunny and hot, and he's going to get the candles so that we can paint the wax. While I'm waiting, I want to try to set up this scythe that I traveled with all the way from Hamburg. It's an Austrian scythe and it cost a buttload. It's better than anything you can find anywhere around here. It's time to test this baby out. I don't have anything to cut here. So I notice I let my mustard patch get way too big. I'm noticing these bigger leaves, they don't have any of that spiciness that these tender leaves have. These ones, which are vibrant with their leaves, these have a nice spice to them. So I grew these only in pots last year and in a small amount. So this is an experiment. I want to just attack them, see how they recover, and use up whatever they give. Today is finally grafting day. Grafting day is finally here. This is a big pear I did not realize I had, and I'm going to graft it from this new little guy. And so if this gives fruit this year, I will know what kind of fruit they are before I cut it down if they're shitty fruit, or I can leave part of it. Three plums. 2 more plums. I'm making a nettle soup. I got tons of nettle here. Gotta clean out the grass and stuff. And then I've got more nettle and onions here. There's a lot of nettle going in here. And here I've got the nettle soup. It's so dark and so filling. As you can see, there's lots of work digging. So every morning, especially now that it's getting hotter, I'm trying to get to work before the sun comes out. There, this whole stretch in an hour and 7 minutes. Nice. Here's where I'm at with the pump. I'm going to shorten it. I'm going to cut it about right here. Add this to the end there, and this part is thicker where the pole is, so these rings that I make, they break once I try to get them onto the neck here. So if I cut it here, it should fit fine, and I may have to sand this down even more so it doesn't warp the pole. My circle hole drills, I'm going to sand to thin this out beforehand, so once I cut the rings it should be closer to the similar right width, and then I'll cut the ring. Oh damn, this gets freaking hot even just to touch this guy. pretty hard to drill these out because they're pretty shitty blades, but eventually it works. I need 2 hands. Yeah, I got 3 of these now. Gotta file them up a bit and get this one out, but it's steaming hot. I wouldn't be surprised if this would start a fire. Here are 3 rings, though this one is a little off center. Oh well, let's play around. Ah, fuck. And I broke this one. Yeah, I need to file the insides out more so that they can fit easily on top without breaking. Otherwise, these batteries are dead. Gotta recharge them. Can't do much else till then. April 23rd, I think I'm finally seeing the first white radishes. And if I'm not mistaken, no, that's a weed. Yeah, that might be all. We'll be planting out the rest of this tray today, so I'm moving 4 fish over to the top. I'll be growing basil bush, satureja, Thai basil, chamomile, and echinacea. I'm mixing soil up, and I'm realizing how many extra steps there are into running a place like this. There's like these 15 tasks that every day I do 1 or 2 or 3, and then 5 more sprout out. But on the bright side, it's really fun to learn and see how many intricacies there are into so many things. Like I'm playing around with different ratios of vermiculite with or without perlite and compost to peat ratio. If I could wean off as much as I can and just rely on what's on the land, then I would feel less guilty about this plastic shit, which I'm leaving under the sun. I'm gonna leave that to soak up, and I'm going to make progress on the forest garden. I've got questions that I need to answer. I've been rereading the Edible Forest Garden. It's like a manual, and there's a lot of stuff that I want to skip over. I have a tendency of reading books, and whenever they give an action of something to do or try out, I usually skip out. But on this, I feel like I need to go all the way and stick to the guidelines, because otherwise I get completely lost on the purpose or in the goal, or where am I in this project. And then the weekly reviews are so helpful because they help me get on track and realize where have I not made progress, where I would like to have made progress on. And you can just auto-correct. And this just feels like a living RPG game. It's really fun that I can be here instead of quarantined in New York, where I used to live. I found this old, barely started diary from before I left last winter and before I started the new one, and I'm turning it into I'm gonna try to make it the forest garden book. I've already answered questions: what is the scope, what are the features of the base map, what is its scale, how accurate will it be, and I'm starting to try to visualize of what fruits do I want where. And it's a difficult thing because I don't have a word bank of fruit trees to select out of, and they all are of varying heights and sizes and shapes, so it's difficult to try to visualize where they would be. I feel like a board game would help with this, where the trees were similar size and just in tiny cardboard circles or something. Anyways, I am going to map out the things that I want measured here to start making the base map, figure out the anchor points. With the anchor points, I'm going to draw a map and then eventually try to put it on the computer. analog Excel document that with Rigo Das's help I can go out and measure the distance for all these things. So April 23rd, new plantings again. These are the 4 fishies from the morning, the 2 Sidonias. Here are 3 new echinaceas, this and this, and then these 3 are chamomile. This whole row is Cetereja summer savory. This last row is Thai Siam basil, and this pot is basil bush basil. So last year, if you can remember, this is everything that I dug up from last year, and that's what I bought this. Everything's planted, time to cover it up again. New plantings again. Here are 3 new echinaceas, this and this, and then these 3 are chamomile. This whole row is Cetereja summer savory. This last row is Thai Siam basil, and this pot is basil bush basil. This is everything that I dug up from last year, and that's what I bought. Everything's planted, time to cover it up again. Listening about Kant and grafting trees. This is the life. Sloppy, but we'll see if it works. Sloppy, but it's holding. See if it survives. So today's update, I got caught up listening to Voltaire, and whoa, what the plays that he thought up. Well, I was listening to him while digging the driveway, and then I got into Kant, and so my day has been it's flying out in a Kantian sort of way. But what I'm trying to do is still stick to my task of I'm going to turn this tree into something more fruitful and edible. I'm grafting it with, these are both, I don't know which ones these are, but at this point it doesn't seem like I care too much what they are as long as they taste good. So seeing as all of these trees are basically on their way out, I think the best I can do them is basically to cut them down here and regraft them. Though I don't know if I want to do it all right away. Well, I don't know how good my grafting skills are, or if it even works without grafting tape and only using wax. However, I'll start with this part today. I already grafted that yesterday. You can see how this tape it doesn't want to stick. Maybe I just need to give it a second time, but I don't know how this will hold out once heavy winds come into play. This is just barely a few days in, so I'm trying to figure out the most ecological and efficient way to graft. So here, cleared you out of the way. Now I'm gonna basically chop up wherever I had these. I'm gonna put 4 on here. If this works, I can cut off this, basically most of the rest of the tree. It can just grow from here. So here's my attempt. I'm trying this one just without tearing it, just going into the sap. See how these 3 work out. I think these are champanine, but just a guess. And judging from the leaves, my little apples, these look like these may be wild apples as well. So I would be curious into transplanting them. And like the sperm out of this tree, I grafted that guy as my test. His lecture notes. They're finished off. So right now I've got a bunch of these little experiments like right here, and now I need to go wax them up. Why am I speaking a French accent? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, still need to add more. Morning, while I left the GoPro to charge, I was busy chugging away at this project. I made a huge chunk of progress since this morning, though I cut a bit more than I needed to. I'm still trying to figure out the direction I go as I cut it along the way. Though this soil is very different than it is up there. It's a lot thicker, there's more nutrients to it. So I'm adding it to the potato patch. So here I'm intent on proving to the world and to myself that on shitty ground, well, I can grow food basically anywhere. Potatoes especially, they don't take much effort. So that whole tray of potatoes is now on here. Now get back to work on the driveway to cover that up, and then I'm gonna grow my food from my driveway. So I have all of my food scraps from Vilnius, which I might as well put to use here. So here I'm gonna try to get at least 2 more meters or so and add it to the potatoes. While finishing up here, it's giving such a beautiful view. And I get to see how these things pop out. Alright, it's time to cover the potatoes. How to mix it all in. Important thing, I just need to make sure that these do not touch the potatoes, because rotting things do not go well with growing things. From there, it's just covering it up. And then once it rains, it'll get a really good soak. Oh, I'm so curious to see what's gonna come of this pile. What it feels good about building this pile too is knowing that I want to do something here in the future anyways. So I already need to build this pile upwards, especially if this is going to be a future shed area. Might as well put use to it. It's really going to be an experiment, especially with these newer blocks. They're a lot thicker and a lot juicier than the previous blocks that I laid this thing down with. And so I have a theory that they'll be growing through the cracks instead of through the heavy sod. We'll see how it goes. I'm starting to think this is one big sod. Some of these potatoes might not even grow out this year. Here's a good dichotomy of the sod that's to come to cover these all. The building of a layer. Here you can see what a difference it made, all the sod that I saved from last year, once to throw it right on top of the earth. So this is what it looks like when it's treated, and this is what it looks like if nature just does its thing. Here I threw clovers on top of it last year, so here's it trying to grapple and regain hold. And here I grew buckwheat, and didn't do much for the soil. It just, as you can see, it degraded. This is from earlier today, so ignore that. Without me noticing, this weed was about to go to flower. It's crazy how these things can hide in there. Feels like it looks like a little crime boss, or it feels like I just unrooted a crime boss out of my little city here. And when I look at it, it's a small city, but there's so much life going into here. And I'm manicuring now, giving these strength tests, like a last bump. Basically trying to create more air to pass through, and I want to kill these like old. I want everything new to come back to life again and remove the old dying. Gardening is teaching me the tendencies. Oi, don't do that. that there's certain things that are on their way down which block things that are on their way up. So certain stronger plants they're still pretty strong leaves, though they're not these vital, lively ones. And I'm gonna see how these plants grow as I try to manicure them. Back to the pump project the next day with 2 charged batteries. The next step is see if this will fit on here or if it's even necessary anymore. I'm curious if I can just add this other wooden one, and if it pumps, that might be enough. Yeah, I think I've finished with this piston. I'm gonna try it out with just these wooden things instead of the plastic or the rubber. And I added this thing to make it a little taller. Otherwise the piston is shorter where I chopped it off, and I want to see if it works now. Seems like it's working. 25th, I'm planting without watering radishes. Also, basically just threw them onto the pile and try to push them in. And there's also some radishes here, but there's mainly a whole pack of Georgia Southern Collards. Same thing, I didn't even really tamp it down. Godas gave me 10 specialty potatoes. And since I'm leaving to Vilnius today, I don't know where else to plant them. So they're going here. So here are the first icicle radishes. This is April 25th. If I'm not mistaken, these are the first spinach that are popping out. I saw one, maybe you. Cool, on the way. So I gave everything a good water. I even went ahead and watered these. Now it's time to go.